All right, I'd like to call this meeting to order of the Pinson City Council for March 3rd, 2022. I'll remember my gavel this time. If you would, please stand for the invocation by Councilor Roberts and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilor Buchanan.
Let's pray. Father, we thank you again for this evening and for allowing us all to be here tonight. We thank you for those that may be joining online, that you would also bless them too. Father, we just want to lift up this time that you would give us all wisdom and understanding, and that we would all be able to listen intently to each other's ideas, and we would be able to make wise decisions for each time. Father, we thank you so much for the first responders that are out there, the work that they do every day. We really appreciate those guys, those ladies that are out there doing that work. We ask, Father, that you would be with our country, that you would especially protect us at this time. We know there is unrest throughout the world. We just ask that you would give our leaders the wisdom that they need. We ask, Father, again, that you would guide us at this time. We ask this in your name.
Attention, please, pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. Did a great job on the pledge tonight. Everyone seems to be working together. I would like to assign at this time Heather Lynn as the acting clerk for tonight's meeting. Madam Clerk, can we have a roll call?
Councilor Tanner. Here. Councilor Walter. Councilor Roberts.
Here.
Councilor Churchwell.
Here.
Councilor Kirkland. Here. Mayor Cochran.
Here. All right, Councilor Roberts on the...
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we waive the reading of the minutes from February 24th and also approve those minutes as submitted.
I have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any additional comments? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Let the record reflect that passes unanimously. Councilor Tanner. Well, and I'm getting out of order. My fault, I apologize. Going back to the Christmas parade winners is next up, and we have two representatives here tonight from First Baptist Pinson as well as the Pinson AU Youth Park. We have our park director that can accept on their behalf. So if you guys would step forward, we'd like to present you with your prize checks. So that people in the public can see it. First place was Pinson First Baptist, and it was that was a zero shot to anyone. I think they win it every year because, well, they do an incredible job. Second place prize winner is not here tonight, so we're going to move on to third place, and that was the Pinson AU football, represented by Matt. Come over this way, Matt. Everybody knows how to do this photo op stuff. I got it down, man. Thank you, guys. Thank you for all you do up here. We appreciate it. Yeah, maybe next year we'll get some big fancy checks. Kind of driveways. Yeah. I know a guy that prints several guys printed. Now we will recognize Conroe Fire District for their report. Mr. Archer is here. Your deputy chief or chief?
Deputy chief. You would
Tonight,
be chief sometime.
Tonight you're the big chief.
How you doing tonight?
Very well.
I'm here to give you the February monthly report for the Conroe Fire District. Total calls made for the month were down a little bit, down to 122 for the month. That's consistent with 27 ground transports. We provided one mutual aid call to Central Fire District. We received one mutual aid call from them also. We provided mutual aid transport for a local support volunteer fire department in Blount County and one mutual aid transport for one EMS. February, the busiest time of the week was on Tuesday, which changed from last month. The busiest time of day during that time frame was around 6 p.m. in the afternoon. Station 1 was the busiest station for the month, running at 62% of the calls. Calls for February were as follows: 94 EMS calls, or 77% of the total call volume for the month. 2 grass fires and 2 structure fires, which equaled 3%. False alarm calls were 5, which equaled roughly close to 5%. All other calls were for emergency service that were not considered really light emergencies, were 19 electricities for the month, or 15% of the call volume. We still notice a dramatic downturn in the COVID trend, which is a big plus. So we spoke to Southern Emergency Consultants, the people we bought our new transport from, to get an update on where we were in the building phase for it. They spoke with Horton Ambulance Company, which is still waiting on the VIN number and the chassis from RAM. As soon as they're able to get that, they'll be able to get it into the production line. They've already set aside the material for building the patient box compartment, and we've already approved the color paint scheme for the truck. It's going to be very similar, right at the same thing what we got with our other transports. Just want to remind everybody, on March 13th, daylight savings time kicks up. Want to remind everybody to check their smoke detectors and change their batteries.
And how can they get a smoke detector if they don't have?
I'm getting to that.
I like to emphasize that.
There you go. We'd also like to remind anyone that needs a smoke detector to please check with your respective fire district coverage sheet. Both Powerdale and Center Point are in the smoke detector program for Get Alarmed, Alabama. And we have those available to the people that need them on our Facebook page. We have an email address that you can get off the post there, and that will get you to the gentleman that is in charge of our smoke detector program, and he'll set up a time to come out and evaluate and go over where the best places to put smoke detectors in the house would be.
And then you install them underneath it.
That is correct.
There you go.
Yes, sir.
Free smoke detector, installed, no reason not to have them.
Exactly, that is correct. Also, I'd like to remind everybody that our hydrant maintenance is getting ready to get started. We'll be flowing the fire hydrants in the area. After we get done with that, we'll be coming around scraping them and repainting them. For the people that do not know about the colors that are on top of the hydrants, that gives us an availability of water for each particular hydrant that's in that area. If you see a blue top hydrant, it's 1,500 and above gallons per minute that the hydrant will give us on fire. Green is 1,499 down to 1,000 gallons per minute. Orange is 999 to 500 gallons per minute, and anything below that would be a red top, which is 499 gallons and below. So those colors,
we don't want any red.
No, we don't want any red tops. But those colors are very important to us because we know that if we have a fire, what we're expected to get out at time. So that's the purpose of us testing them to be sure that they're available and ready to use. If I have nothing else, if there's any questions, I'll be more than happy to.
I only have one question. I'm
Okay.
trying to dispel a bit of a myth.
Okay.
None of those call-outs were to get a cat out of a tree. were they?
No, they were not.
That doesn't happen.
That is becoming a dying art. Not many people call for that now, so that's good to know.
Anybody else in council have questions for Richard? All right, so you know, we appreciate your report and everything you guys do on a daily basis. It sounds like your numbers, especially for transport, are really coming around. That's, I'm ecstatic to hear that, especially because I live in your district.
Oh, yes, sir.
I'm glad to know that if I have an emergency, you have an ambulance to go and get it.
That is true, and if our ambulances are out, we do have mutual aid with Center Point and some other companies that we will be able to get an ambulance to you, hopefully with no issues.
Fantastic.
Right now, we've been in the middle of a study with Jefferson County. Us, Trussell, and Center Point just met just this past week with them, talking about the study, trying to figure out something to help with the shortage that we've had for the ambulances here lately in the area.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of effort at the state level trying to deal with wall times and trying to deal with reimbursements from the government as to what you get paid back, so
Yes.
that you're not losing money.
That is correct.
Which, yeah, so there's a lot of effort going on with that.
Yeah, hopefully it'll all come around and everything will get better and we won't have any issues.
Yeah. Thank you, Rick.
Thank you very much. See y'all next month.
All right, moving on. Councilor Tanner.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to pay the bills in the amount of $242,497.25.
We have a motion, we have a second. A motion and a second. Highlights of that bill schedule, if you would.
Yes, a couple, our monthly contract with Jefferson County for our deputies for $34,000, and at the end, $172,063.67 to Nom and the company for work at our park.
And that's the second thing in 2 miles. They have almost completed the work at the park that we had to do. I think next week they actually will finalize pretty much the work that they got on their agenda for that, and we will receive the final bill for that. So that's a little over 2/3 that will be paid after. And, you know, it's expensive to own and run a ballpark, but if you're gonna have one and you're gonna run it, you need to be a nice one, and that's where the efforts are going with all of this money. All right, motion and a second. Any additional questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Let the record reflect, we shall pay the bills. Under the mayor's report, I only have one thing, and it's not on the agenda that was published, my apologies. Somehow or another, I left that off. But we wanted to talk a little bit about trade days. As you recall, a few months ago, we started trade days, had it for a couple of months down on Main Street, closed the road at 9 in the morning to 2 in the afternoon. Typically, you have a great number of classic cars lined up and down the street, as well as food vendors and people who are selling their wares at their booths. Councilor Kirkland, would you like to expand on this, since you're very involved with it as well?
Oh, yes. They're expecting a lot more vendors this time, so I encourage all of you to come out, and it might be some interesting things you'd like to buy. They're having a new food truck. It's supposed to be delicious, so you can check that out. And also the drugstore will be open too for his food and ice cream. So it's going to be good to have all the vintage cars there. And maybe to have the kids band will be back there, we hope. So look forward to all and supporting them.
Yeah, and also the coffee, Parking D is open down there now, that we serve coffee that day. For those of you that haven't tried the vendors on Main Street, we encourage you to come down. It's a great opportunity to see more than just what's there on a daily basis, but catch up on what's really going on Main Street. There is kind of a revitalization going on. You've got a nice boutique down there if you're a lady and you want some clothes, and if you're a guy and want to buy those clothes, that's perfectly okay too. No judgment here. But what?
For your wife, yeah.
Well, yeah, that too, Robbie. I can see that.
Bring your
But-
lawn chairs and you sit around and talk with your friends, and you'll meet new friends. You'll see some older friends that you haven't seen in a while. So it's just a community get together. It's a lot of fun. It really is.
It's well done, and like I said, we have deputies on the street covering all the roads to make sure everyone's safe. We'll dismiss at 2, have the roads open again by 3, if you will, and everything back to normal. But it's that time of the month where we get to do that, and I'm excited about it. I'm sure. Who on council has not made it to trade days yet? Raise your hand. Shame on you. Let you.
I have the very first one,
You have been to one.
but I'll be there tomorrow,
That's-
Saturday also.
That's fantastic. So we've only got one council member that has not made it to a trade days, and we shall solve that this weekend.
Well, I have been by during trade days, but it looked like a long walk, so.
That's a sad
cyclist?
excuse. That's a sad, it's
Oh.
not that long a walk.
They wanted me to ask the merchants, in case it does rain, they want to know if they can have it the next weekend. Just move it to the next weekend.
Is it supposed to rain?
I didn't think so, but it maybe 10% is what I saw last, and I haven't looked at it lately.
Let's charge forward, and if that happens, I don't know. How does council feel about that? Because it's all been advertised for this weekend. It may just be a loss. Since they're wanting to do it monthly, I would just say if it rains, you lost that one, let's go to the next month. It's not to get them all too close together and such. But, I mean, what do you think?
Well, all the vendors are all ready for it, and they're baking and getting things, and so that's why they would like to have it the next week if they could.
What's council think?
I don't see.
Do you get a discount on those week-old baked goods?
Sure.
Everybody okay with that? If it were to rain out, to delay it by a week, and then if it were to rain out again, we're just done with that?
Mm-hmm.
Is that okay with everyone?
I do have a question.
Yes.
And I'm sorry, I missed it. We've moved it to monthly instead of quarterly?
We haven't decided yet.
Oh, okay.
It's really up to the merchants of Main Street as to what they want to do. We'd had a couple on months. We haven't decided to do it monthly or quarterly, but this is the time where we started having it again. At that point, it'll be up to council to decide, do they want to allow it monthly or quarterly?
I
But-
thought we had already made it where it was the first Saturday of every month, except for certain months during the winter.
We had sort of
To
talked
see-
about
To
that,
see
yeah.
how it goes for a while.
Yeah, we had talked about that.
But the only issue I have is to make sure it's not on City Fest Day.
Yeah,
It doesn't need to compete with City
Oh,
Fest.
no, we didn't,
Yeah,
you're right,
no.
and they know that.
yeah. Okay, so we move forward. And if it does get rained out for whatever reason, because Barry and Dorland told me it was not gonna rain, so if it does, we'll hold them accountable. And, 4% chance. But at any rate, we'll
Oh.
move forward. And if it had to be delayed by a week, we're okay with that.
Okay,
All right. And that's probably enough about trade days, but it is a fun time. Come on
It
down.
is.
Shane, might want to bring your family down. Be a great time to visit Main Street.
Sounds good.
I know it's a little bit of a ride for you.
I love Main Street.
I know you do. Your wife's involved with a organization that they're all about Main Street.
That's right.
Indeed. All right, moving on. Bob, if you would. We want to talk about traffic calming devices for Vice Road. Point of clarification, Bob's going to tell us what it would cost us to do it. That does not guarantee that we do it. Bob?
Correct. We got a quote from the previous vendor that we used, and the reason that this one's the only one coming forward is we want to continue with the continuity as well as we have some leftovers. So this kind of blends in with anything that we have going forward to make sure that we have ample supplies should one be damaged or something to that nature. We can fix it without going through a whole process. The quote that you have in your packet is for it's called 3 sets. They will be put out in 3 different places on Vice Road. Everything in that quote is included to install them. It would be done by our Public Works, Eric and them guys. We have poles that they have in place, and they don't sell a standard sign. It's available for purchase at many places around at a cost from $10 to $30 per sign. So just remember that I'd need to add a few $100s into the bid if you decide to go forward to purchase the signs, and that should cover us.
All right, does everybody understand that?
I have to say something about the name of those things, the speed
Well.
cushions.
They are called speed cushions.
As someone who goes over them, they're not very soft.
Well, then perhaps you need to slow down before you go over them.
Well, even at slow speed, they're very bumpy.
Let that be a lesson that you're doing it wrong, Robbie. They are called speed cushions for a reason.
Bump is not a good sales pitch.
Yeah, apparently
The
so.
cushion
but
it sounds nice.
Okay.
You'll never find these on the pillow aisle, that's for sure.
Any questions for Bob on the materials? All right, thank you, Bob. Moving on, do I have someone to offer a resolution approving? And I believe we had that set up for Councilor Kirkland.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to approve the resolution approving a contract by and between the city and Jefferson County, Alabama, concerning supplemental speed control devices on certain streets.
All right, I have an offer. Do we have a second?
Second.
Offer and a second. Roll call vote, please, on the main resolution.
Counselor Tanner?
Yes.
Counselor Roberts?
Yes.
Counselor Churchwell?
Yes.
Counselor Kirkland?
Yes,
Mayor Cochran?
Yes, let that record reflect that passes as resolution number 22-08. We will seek approval by the county through the form of an MOU. And if they sign that and get it back to us, which sometimes that takes a little more time, once that happens, then we can install these.
Should we, do you want us to go ahead and approve the expenditure to buy the product? Or?
That's what we just did.
I thought it was just for the MOU.
Well, that is. So, yeah, that's a good point.
Okay.
Make a motion.
I make a motion that we authorize the mayor to purchase the items as shown here from Traffic Logic, along with some signs for an approximate cost of $5,000.
All right, I have a motion. Second.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor say aye.
aye.
All those opposed? Let the record reflect that passes unanimously. Thank you for Counselor Roberts for pointing that out. I had overlooked that. All right. Motion to approve proposal for, to provide a feasibility study. Do I have anyone that would like to offer that this evening?
Mr. Mayor, I choose not to bring that on, put that on the table at this time.
All right. Did you have a reason?
For council, for everyone to be here.
You'd rather have a full vote before we have any discussion on that subject? Okay. So basically, I don't have a motion. Anyone else want to offer it?
Well, I mean, I tend to, I'm prepared to, I want to discuss it, but but I
Well, if
also
we don't
tend to-
have full board of council and we don't have an offer, we're not going to discuss.
Yeah, I've always agreed with that particular position, especially when it's something important for the whole body to be here, so I don't have a problem with that.
So basically, we would hold this over to a future council meeting, probably not the next one, because I am scheduled to be absent of that meeting, so most likely the first meeting of next month. So it lays for now, which is fine. All right, moving on. We have a quote in front of you for approval of fence repairs, but we had a couple of other options that were not included in this particular quote, so we're going to hold off on that tonight. People see it in your packet, but we're moving on past that today, if that's okay. All right. Moving on, we also have offered to the council a first reading presented by the Martin Engineering regarding floodplain mitigation. We have a packet like this in front of everyone. Mr. Martin can be here at the next meeting or indeed the first meeting of next month, whichever we prefer, and answer and take questions, but we wanted everybody to have this packet to go through it and come up with any questions you may have. Some of it may be complicated because it's engineer talk and, well, I'm not an engineer. But he did sit down and go over it with me, so I understood it. Okay? All right, now I have a motion on the table here. Councilor Churchwell.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve Campbell's paving proposal for a lot in Palmerdale to be graded, edges defined, grass removed, and low areas leveled. The lot will be covered with 3 inches of dense grade base, approximately 450 tons, and compacted. All of this would come to a cost of $22,500 plus about 600, so we're looking at $23,100. I'll make that motion.
All right, I have a motion. Do we have a second?
You do.
Second.
Motion and a second. I believe that actually came from you in a very quiet way.
Yeah, well, sort of.
You need to be a little louder.
So quiet over there.
Any rate, this is dealing with the Palmerdale Homestead Community Center. Their parking lot is in, it's in so-so condition, so this would bring it into a lot better repair and expand it a bit as well. And then if at some point in time in the near future or distant future, we decided we wanted to pave it, this base would be a perfect base to have there for the paving. So, that being said.
We would want this here irregardless, because we wouldn't want to put the pavement on a non-secure base. So.
As a matter of fact, I'll come back to that, but all those in favor say aye. All those opposed? Let the record reflect that passes unanimously. But to that point, one of the change orders we needed to do down at the Pinson Sports Complex was the paving that goes down to the football area. Well, when we got in there and said we're going to add that second lane, we realized we needed to add both lanes because that first lane that was put in, it never had any dense compaction under or anything. It was not stable. So we're having to basically pave both sides, which is fine. It'll all be brand new. But that's to that point, if you don't prepare correctly for paving, you're just about wasting your time. All right, Councilor Tanner, moving on to you, talking about movies in the park.
Yes, they went really well last year, so we'd like to do that, or I'd like to do that again. Matt's all for it. In fact, we talked about it and said the employees had fun when they got to grill the hot dogs at the last one. So anyway, I'd like to make a motion to have the movies in the park starting on May the 27th, and it will end on August the 5th, and it'll be every other Friday between that.
Okay, culminating like we did last
Yes,
year,
I think
trying to
so.
do something like that.
Yes.
We'll gauge it as we go, I guess. But yeah, the movies in the park, I think, is a hit. We get a lot of kids out and they have a great time. It also exposes new people to the park that they've never seen before, and they usually come in with big eyes, just in awe of that park, because it's a beautiful place. Speaking to the movies in the park, Matt is in communication with a company out of California, I believe. Is that right, Matt? I think the time has come for us to perhaps replace the gear that we have and upgrade it a little bit. Not to throw the old stuff away, it could still be used for certain things or whatever, but it's about time to get new equipment. And so he's looking with this company to get us a static screen versus a blow-up type. Get both
I'm
options.
getting both options, yes.
Similar size to what we have today, and
It's actually about
also
a foot larger on
Right.
either side, so.
and an upgraded projector that would work not only when the sun goes down, but actually work in the daylight as well, because we have applications sometimes that we need a projector. Graduation's a great example.
Exactly.
What an enhancement that would be for those kids to have that projector with their face on it as they come across that field picking up their diploma. So,
Well, I was on the phone with them today. They're based out of California, and I explained to them all the situations we ran into with Alabama's sunlight, not going down till 8 o'clock sometimes, and it's going to start late. So she's going to build us a package with a screen and a projector that can show earlier times, the built-in sound system with the package, new projector, new screen, and like he said, I'm going to get a static quote that's a foldable static system, and we'll get the blow-up. Now, the blow-ups when they have now are much quieter than the one we currently have. It's almost non-existent. This is the same company when I went to NRPA I talked with, and they had their demos set up, and I was very impressed because you could stand right beside it and couldn't hear the wind blowing into the screen. But the static option was a good one as well, so we're gonna see what the quotes come back. They'll actually have those to me tomorrow, so hope to have them tonight, but not happening.
any questions or requests? Or
And this is wireless, correct?
Yes, it is wireless.
That's enhancement there.
meaning to have Bluetooth?
It will have Bluetooth to the speakers. We won't have to run the wires, all the extension cords. The only cord if we'd have to run is if we had the blow-up system, we'd have the one cord to the blower. So, so it'd be pretty convenient, and it comes in a case that's rollable, so everything fits in the rolling case. We wouldn't have to set up on tables anymore and adjust the screen. It would adjust up to where we needed it off the case. So, much more modern. But our unit is pushing 8 years old now. So technology has advanced, and it's like Mayor Joe said, it's time to advance with it.
Is it only 8 years old? You sure?
I'm just guessing it's 8 because that's when I've been
It's-
here.
it's older.
I
I've been
think
here
it's older
than
6.
that.
It was 2014.
14. Okay, well, it's right at that then. So
Okay. Yeah, and we used to rent those every time we had it, and then somebody came up with a bright idea. Why don't we just buy our own system? Then all we have to do is rent the movie and pay the rights like we do.
Exactly.
But, you know, and there's occasion and times where this could be handy for the library as well. They could go down in the auditorium and show movies and things like, so it's something that works for a lot of purposes.
it does.
All right. Additional questions, comments? No? All right, thank you, Matt.
Can I plug something real quick?
You.
Just real quick. 2 seconds.
Okay.
We have 3 teams that advanced in basketball to the state tournament next weekend in Gadsden. And so I just would like to give them a congratulations on district. We had one team win their district tournament, and the other 2 finished second. And they're going to be competing in Gadsden next week. I don't have the schedules yet, but it'll be on our Facebook page. And so if you guys can just wish them a good luck in this, because this is our best 3 teams I feel like we've had in several years to go compete at state. So that's my 2
Well,
cents.
let's plug a couple other things while we're here.
Sure.
Adult co-ed
Yes,
softball.
yes, I definitely wanna
Slow pitch
plug that.
softball co-ed.
Yes, we are
we're
starting adult softball.
starting
We're very
adult
excited
softball.
about that.
Yeah. Well,
Would like to have the
Tell them
public
about it.
really get on board with it. It's co-ed, it's slow pitch, anybody can play. Just get out there and have fun. We're going to try to make this the most fun, non-competitive. It's going to be competitive anyway, but we want people to come out. We're fielding an 8-team league right now, and we're looking to start the last week in May. Registration runs through May 23rd, and we're gonna play May into July. And we're looking to have a tournament at the end of the season with awards, and we just wanna have good camaraderie. We'd like to get the churches involved. We've solicited out several times now. It's on the Facebook page. I think it'd be great fun if we could get the adult community involved in sports now.
I do, and with the highlight of what we're doing at the park, and there's a lot of things that we're in the process of doing right now to improve the facility. There's additional things coming down the line that we would like to recommend for improvement. Quite frankly, nothing is moving as fast as I want it to move, but nothing ever does, and that's okay. There's some things that we may not get done for this season. It'll be next season before those things are done, but a lot of improvements at our park, and I think we should have a wider audience of people that use it. It's a wonderful facility. There's no reason why adults can't come down there and play softball. Now, obviously, it'll be restricted, you know, there's no beer.
Oh, no.
No smoking on the field, and all those kind of normal things that you would expect.
Yes, we're very excited about that. And also, we are starting the publication process of applicants for the splash pad this summer, 18 and older. If they have questions or would like to apply, just stop by City Hall or shoot me an email. My email's on the city website. And like I said, that's a great job for not just 18 to 20-year-olds, but it's also a good job to 50 to 70-year-olds. So I've actually wrangled some good employees through the splash pad. And so.
Did you give an email address that someone can?
Sure, I'd be glad to.
Send to for signing up for the softball league?
Definitely. I'll give you my personal email. It's mnixon@thecityofpinson.com.
All right, cool.
And so we'd like to see y'all get on board. And if the council wants to put a team in, we'll definitely welcome it, you know.
Hey, that's a good idea.
Well, I will take you to task with a little bit of what you said. You said anybody can play. I've played in these co-ed leagues, and I would dispute that. Anybody can't play. Sometimes they're.
Okay, we are offering it to anybody that can play. We're not saying that they are good players. We're not saying that the quality of softball is going to be up to Mayor Joe's standards personally, but we will have softball for adults to give them athletic and fun competition.
I appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
Sounds fantastic.
Thank you.
And I thank you guys for expanding into that world.
Definitely. We're excited about it. This is something we've been wanting to do, so.
All right.
We need a second. On the movies in the park.
Well, we're not moving on yet. She's just giving us some. Did you want to move
I
on?
made a
that?
motion, I made a motion.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, made a motion. Now let's get a second. On the movies in the park, having them.
I'd second.
My apologies. I didn't realize you were making a motion. I thought you were just giving information. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor of having the movies in the park this season, say aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous.
I have a plug.
Have what?
I have a plug.
Did you say that was on May 27th?
Now she's got a
started?
plug. Everybody's a pitch man. What you got?
I just wanted to reiterate about City Fest. It will be May the 7th, 10 to 2. The only information I want to give out right now is we're going to do arts and craft vendors. So if you're a vendor that makes something, jewelry, wreaths, birdhouses, whatever, we're going to put an application on our website so that you can apply, just so that we don't have 5 people doing earrings and all that, so that we can kind of gauge and everything. So it'll be free. There's not a charge or anything. You'll just be responsible for bringing your own tent and tables.
Yeah, we don't want anybody there trying to sell used rims or tires.
No.
This is strictly
No.
for crafts. You made a craft and you would like to sell it. That's what it's
Yes.
about.
And the application will be on the website, the city website, Monday.
All right.
Sounds good.
Any additional plugs? All right. I think we've come to the end of the meeting as we know it. Anything else you guys would like to mention before we go to the public for public comment?
Yes, I do, because
You're not going to go into a long speech about that stuff, are you?
I may.
Don't do it. Allow the rest of council to be
I
here
have
for that.
Well, I'm sure that Mr. Walker can watch the videotape.
Point of order. I don't want to discuss that because we had said earlier that we weren't going to discuss it, in fairness to Council Walker.
No, we said we wouldn't take up the motion.
We did, and we said we really didn't want to talk about it.
Mr. Mayor, I must say that I'm a little disappointed that you won't allow me to speak to the full council.
I'll allow
regarding
you to
this.
speak to the full council. I just don't want a long dissertation on it when we're going to bring it up at a later date. But feel free. I yield the floor.
I haven't had the opportunity to be interviewed by all the local television stations and everything in the last week, so please bear with me on that. Now, listen, I have no illusions that anything I might say might change anyone's mind regarding this proposal that's been brought up, and I realize now we won't be taking this up for a month, but I still think it's important for the public to understand what's going on. I know that this is a very emotional issue and goes way back. We have a lot of history with this throughout in our town. I know that nothing, basically, for most folks around here comes before our children, and certainly we want to have a very good system, whether it's our park, whether or not it's our school system or anything else that we might be doing around here. We definitely want to make sure it's first class. What I do want to do, though, is I do want to relay some information that I gathered over this last week since this was brought to my attention, and in hopes that that might help clear up some of these issues that are out there. Let's see. I want to mention something. I have a friend of mine. His name is Dr. Thomas Beavers. He's a pastor of the Star Church down in Birmingham, and he likes to make a comment where, or a statement that he goes with. He says, passion without knowledge is dangerous. And I agree with that. A lot of times folks in churches, they tend to get fired up and they fail to study the good word, and they tend to come around with some different things that sound like a great idea, but they don't match up. And I think that applies in life also, where I appreciate the enthusiasm that everybody has, and I hope that we'll all be in search of the truth and in search of solutions that we can all work together with, because to me, that's the key. I have taken seriously the complaints that were registered at last week's meeting, and I have spoke with several people, several concerned citizens. I've received information from various folks around town who've got questions about this. I spoke several times with Dr. Gosselin, the superintendent of the schools, and I've also spoken with school board members concerning their reaction for this. The first issue that came up, and I'm abbreviating all of this because of the fact that there was, quite a number of things, but there were some that seemed to rise to the height greater than others. One was the issue of the sewer issue, which I brought up last week, the fact that it is not on a septic system, it's on a sewer system. I investigated exactly what happened up there with the sewer system, whether or not there was an issue with that. Basically, what happened seems to be a case of right after the building first opened. It was in the first week. I think it was in between the time when Mayor Cochran and I were up there, and we had to make two different tours based on some things that we had seen after the first tour. We decided that they had an issue with one of the toilets overflowing continuously because it was stopped up. And the reason why it was stopped up seemed to be an issue with some type of a pump system that they have up there where the power had been interrupted. So I want to stress the fact that the lines that are up there for the school had been completely checked out. Some sections were replaced, and a liner was put in order to make it smoother up there to help keep these problems from happening. Now, I think it's also important to understand that folks, that place, we're talking at Rudd Middle School, has had a long history of plumbing problems, things that were an issue up there before the massive remodeling took place. I think that, and it's hard when you have a reputation of having a lot of plumbing problems for that to go away. I do believe that that has gotten a lot better as a result of the new liners, and the issues that we may see are not attributable to a bad sewer system. The next thing was the presence of the mold. The good news is there is no mold up there. The health department came in and inspected. They found no mold. What has been determined is that the appearance of what looks like it might be mold is...
Point of order. It seems that you're just repeating what you were told. Is that the case?
Well, I have a
And
letter...
if that's the case, they can represent their own case, and they have.
Well,
I mean, you're welcome to speak on this subject to all of your firsthand knowledge, but if you, I
have a letter from Dr. Gosselin where he addresses this. I don't mind reading that letter in its entirety.
I don't want you to read it. Dr. Gonsolin can read that letter. I want you to espouse your opinions, not espouse his opinions.
Well, I'm not a mold expert, so I would like to
I'm not
get
either.
into the others.
I'm not either.
I would like to continue.
You can continue, but I would prefer that you not read their opinion
I
and read
would
your own.
prefer to be able to say what I would like to say.
Go ahead.
Part of it's actually nice to you.
And that's fine, and that's fine. I think you understand what I'm saying here.
No, I don't.
They've been
I really don't, because there's been a lot of information put out in the public. It has given our schools a black eye. Everyone has been calling me up, wanting to know about whether or not they need to transfer their children from the schools. The very schools that you worked so hard to build up.
I understand.
And I'm still defending our schools.
I'm defending our schools as well, and I understand that part. As it pertains to the building stuff, I mean, Dr. Gonsling has addressed that publicly, and I think everyone has the opportunity to hear that. He and I have had really good meetings as well, so.
Bill, I'm just going to state what I've learned. Like I say, I'm trying to be as succinct as possible. There is no mold present at this time. What does seem to be present up there that some may have believed was mold is some actual leaching from the concrete of calcium and lime that comes through as a normal course of aging of concrete. I think we even have some of that issue with some of our stuff here in the city of property. So again, it's not that folks were making things up. They thought it looked like mold, but it was not. I will truncate my other comments on that right there. I do want to say something else that I actually meant to bring in a little bit sooner. And that is that I actually do want to express my appreciation to the mayor. Contrary to the way it looks like we're arguing up here now, the fact of the matter is that I greatly appreciate the work that the mayor has done over the years. I truly believe our schools were in a nosedive for disaster, not because of the buildings were bad, we all knew that, but because the fact that the administration had gotten so poor. The reputation of the schools was not one of where people went to learn, it was basically one where people were just up there biding their time. And Mayor Cochran is responsible for bringing us several of the people that are the administrators of these schools today. We would not have the success we have without his hard work, and I appreciate that. I do know, again, like I started out with, I do know it's something very passionate about. I do know it's something especially that the mayor is very passionate about, and many citizens here in the area. I briefly want to talk a little bit about the reasons why forming our own school district would be problematic in my mind, and that is that, and part of this, most of this information came during my discussions with Dr. Goslin and with Ronnie Dixon, a school board member. The fact is it'd be a very uphill climb. And so the question is okay, do we want to go ahead and do a feasibility study to be able to look at this? You know, sometimes it's, you know, I'm like, well, I got a little bit of wisdom here. Let me just kind of get the lay of the land to begin with and try to see what we're up against. And I found three main issues so far that I consider to be obstacles. The first one is the fact that if we take over the schools, we would have a reduction in the size of the schools most likely, especially if the students eventually become those that only live within the city limits. And quite frankly, our folks have gotten used to the amenities of a 6A school. And by amenities, I don't necessarily mean the facilities. I mean the amenities of the academic standards, the extracurricular activities, and those things that are available to those students. You know, smaller schools just aren't able to offer as many offerings in the coursework because there just aren't enough students to be able to make up a class. There's two major areas also that are outside our local buildings. One of them is the Burkett Center, which is available to our special needs kids. That is something, if you've got a special needs child, is extremely important. That is something that would not be available to us anymore. The second thing, which is something that I personally have experience with, and that is the International Baccalaureate School. We would not have opportunity for that anymore. I can personally tell you that my daughter would not have gotten the fabulous scholarship that she got to Birmingham Southern, where she graduated last year. Everybody up here knows that fact, but I just want you to know that I appreciate the fact that she went through the Pinson schools through the 8th grade and then was able to matriculate over to the IB school and continue. And we have many students here in the Pinson area that have been able to do that and gone on successfully. The next thing that I think is a major obstacle is the involvement of the federal courts. Unfortunately, we do not control our destiny in this particular aspect. The courts are very much involved in the schools in Jefferson County. It goes back to when I was just a little kid, and that was a long time ago. And so the fact of the matter is that Jefferson County had a reputation that was built on the fact where racial bias was used. People used the schools and tried to do this in order to take advantage of minority groups. One group felt like that they could do something and basically protect their turf, and they began to do that over and over, and it brought in lawsuits and judgments. As a result of that, Jefferson County resides under this particular ruling. No action can be taken that may impact any of the students without the approval of this federal court. I believe that the City of Gardendale, their recent experience, provides a template for what we could expect going forward. I took a look at the racial makeup of our school versus the racial makeup of our city. At this time, the residents of Pinson there are more white residents than there are black residents in comparison with the number of white and black children and Hispanics that are at our school. If I was one of the parents, especially, and it doesn't matter what color you are, if I was one of those parents of those students, I would not want to be taking a step back just because the folks in Pinson decided that they wanted to have something better.
Okay.
The last
You're gonna
thing.
cut this short at any point. I'm just saying that because we have a room full of people that would also like to speak.
So the last thing that I would like to say about this right here would be, I have serious reservations about the increased taxes that would be required. I received a lot of calls about that. There's a lot of concern. Folks they just quite frankly cannot afford the extra taxes. I have learned just this afternoon of a report for a neighboring city. I won't release their name because I don't know that their council's even been presented the information. But I've got their report has come back from their feasibility study. They are looking at a 12.5 mil property tax increase requirement there. I will say this city is south of town and has a much higher property values than what we do. So, and it costs the same amount of money to educate a kid properly. It doesn't matter what kind of house that they happen to be living in. So I'm very concerned about the fact that it could be overly costly. Again, I'd like to close by saying that it's very important for us to maintain teamwork. The thing that I've been most disappointed in, again, is the black eye that our schools have received. There's great disappointment on the part of the principals at both schools. There's been a lack of communication that's taken place. When folks see things, unfortunately, the correct folks have been not notified in advance. I certainly appreciate getting involved once people have gone to the principals and said, hey, look, we don't like what we see around here and this looks like a problem. If they don't give you the straight answer and they don't work it out, then please, go to the board. If they don't work it out, please come to us. As you can see, there's several of us up here that are very, very passionate about this particular subject. We will gladly go to bat to try to make sure that we get things straightened out. Unfortunately, we have to be careful, though, that we are very specific because when we make allegations and they don't pan out to be as big as what some maybe think that they are, then as a result, then it ends up hurting our credibility when we come back and say, hey, look, we really do have a serious problem over here and we really want to get this thing fixed. So I think that is basically the scoop on this thing. I did want to make one final statement. And, there's some question about the fact that, why would we not go through with a feasibility study? I'm the type person who likes to analyze things, and in general, I like to say, hey, look, the more knowledge you have, the better off. I've started off my little talk by saying that. But in this particular case, we have a very strong relationship, and we are very integrated with that school system. I've come up with an analogy that I mentioned to my wife. She thought it was applicable, so I wanted to share it with you guys. If I were having marriage problems, and my wife and I, her name's Gina, we were having trouble, and I was talking to her about, hey, I want to work out my issues with you. And she said, okay, that sounds great. And then she found out that I had consulted a lawyer and was doing a feasibility study for having a divorce. I don't think it's going to help my relationship at all. And that's the reason why I'm very concerned about moving forward with this, because I really think we have a strong relationship with the school board, and I want to continue that and work with those principals, again, that Mayor Cochran successfully managed to bring to Pinson.
All right, thank you, Robbie. Since we're talking about it, would anyone else like to discuss it tonight? It was not something that I felt like we should appropriately discuss tonight without a full body, but did it anyway. Yes, John?
I guarantee you I will not talk that long.
I appreciate that.
But anyway, I would just like to mention that, you know, what's going on now back and forth really hurts the representation of the school and of the city. And that's some things that we've got to be concerned about. Yeah, we're concerned about schools not being up to date in some places, but, you know, we can get those fixed and continue on then and get on with what we need to be doing. We've got to also remember that, you know, we've got about 200 new homes that are online to be built in the city. And this kind of a thing going on in the city is not going to be able to, or is not going to help sell them. So we should, and in my opinion, we need to get on with our business, and I don't think spending $8,500 on a feasibility study is going to help us at all. Thank you.
All right. Anyone else? All right, seeing none, I'll go to the public for comment. If you have a comment and you'd like to speak, come to the microphone, state your name and your address, and give us your comment. I would ask you, if at all possible, keep your comments as brief as possible, because oftentimes we fail to make our points as well as we should. And let's not attack any particular people directly. Thank you.
I'm Pam Johnson. I live at 9656 Silly Dean Road, Pinson. We went and we actually had a meeting with Dr. Gonsolin today, who basically told us the exact same thing that Mr. Roberts said as far as the mold and things. Of course, we did also point out to him other areas, and he did acknowledge that the areas that mold has been reported are not areas that they checked, and that he would go and check on them. He did tell us he would get to it. So I'm not throwing him under the bus or Mr. Roberts, but you know, Mr. Roberts said that passion without knowledge was dangerous. So you know, his passion as well without the knowledge of today's meeting. You know, so we did have a meeting with him, and we did address the health department being there, and some of the issues are not what the health department was looking for when they went, including mold in some of the areas, and they are going back to recheck that out. So while he did not, Mr. Roberts did not give false information, as at this point it was not complete information. So we did meet with him. We did address issues with him about some of the, what we see as neglect to the structures of our school. We asked him to come back to our schools. We asked him to walk through our schools again, that, you know, what he saw of the renovations for an empty building, and then the renovations now put into work in 800 kids. May not be the same thing, that when you buy a brand new house, it looks really great, and when you get to living in it, you find out some issues, and that's kind of what's happening. And we've asked him to go back, and he said he would do that and take some people with him and look at those issues. That being said, I do support the feasibility study, because I do think that gives us knowledge to pursue a passion or to not pursue that passion. I am not 100% convinced that running our own schools is the best way to go. I do think the feasibility study to figure out more information is in our best interest at this time. Then, you know, I just think the more knowledge you have, the better decisions you make, and that, you know, these feasibility studies cost what they cost, because we don't know ourselves with our research what these people know when they do these studies, and that investing that money in that study would be a good investment to help have the knowledge that we need to make the right decisions about taking over our schools. And while I do think a little bit some of the things being reported do kind of put a little bit of a black eye on our schools, it needs to be addressed, and it needs to be handled. And we have people leaving our schools because they're not being addressed. So there's no win-win. You have people leaving the schools because it's not being addressed, then you have people wanting to leave because it is being addressed. So, I mean, at least at this point, by addressing it and getting it out there, maybe we can get it fixed so nobody wants to leave our schools anymore at all, for any reason. And, we'll come back to our schools. And so I really don't think that, and I disagree with Mr. Roberts about the racial thing. I know what my community is made up of, and my friends, when I go to their house, I know what they're, and I think that inside of our city, it may change our makeup slightly. I don't think it would segregate us against what the lawsuits require. I don't think it would have that big of an impact to make us a segregated school. That's just my opinion, but again, that's what the feasibility study would tell us, is whether or not either one of our opinions are accurate. So I think that.
And point of order, if I may, no one's seeking to have a segregated school. That is not the goal.
Exactly, no. I think that is one of the selling points of our school, is that, I've said before that we should be a poster child for Jefferson County when it comes to their fight to get out from under some of those court orders, because we have one of the, if not the only school in Jefferson County that is successfully getting along and working together with a very mixed makeup of Caucasian, Hispanic, and African American students, without a lot of gang wars and a lot of fighting and bickering. We're a melting pot, and to me, while some people may see that as negative, I see that as a strength. My kids learn acceptance. They don't see the color of somebody's skin or anything like that, and they just get along. And I like that about our schools, and I find it a plus, to be honest with you. I don't want my children to live in a bubble and think that Caucasian kids are the only ones that exist. That's unrealistic and would do my child an injustice to put her into that situation. So I'm proud of what we have as far as diversity and the ability to get along with each other in a diverse environment at Pinson, and I would not want that to change.
All right.
So.
Thank you, Pam. Anyone else like to speak tonight? The floor is open. Feel free. If you would, state your name and address for our records.
My name is Vincent Lara. I stay at 5061 Gold Leaf Lane. And I first heard about this the other day when I was getting ready for work. And I was trying to see what the reason why we want to get our own school system. One reason I got a problem with it, where all your funds going to come from? Where's your other revenue going to come from? We stuck between Gardendale, Trussville, Clay. They got places where people can go eat and enjoy themselves. Only thing we got is bingo hall. So guess who's going to be taxed?
Pardon me. Point of order. We have no bingo halls in the city limits of Pinson. Zero.
Well, they close to it.
They are close
it's coming
to us,
in.
but there's no tax.
But it's right down the street, Mayor.
They are right down the street.
They right down the street. They right there. And a lot of people's going there. I don't go there because I work. Yeah.
I appreciate
but
it.
But I'm here. I'm here because I stay right here. I've been here for 14 years. My son that went to school. The problem ain't just started with this superintendent. I think we had two superintendents who came through here. The building been looking like this for a long time. The building been looking like this when I married my wife, who played basketball right up the road. It's still the same. But you know what the problem going to do? It's going to be just like another school system right down the road. I remember that school system was a 5 and 6A school. Now it's a 1. You know how many kids they got playing in that band? Maybe 10. You know where the funds is at? No funds. You know why? Because families and people have moved out. People like me who won't mind about moving out. If I'm going to pay for money and I want to see something, I can move to Trussville. I can move to Gardendale. I can move to Clay. I can move to Hoover. But I want to see something here. Don't Don't rob the kids of what we got because we got mold. Mold. Why the mold here? Look at the water problem. Can we stand? We got a pond we can't even mess with. Then you go down to the other school, we got a pond. We got water everywhere. But we want to get our own school system. Why? What have this superintendent done? You know what? You got to remember, plans come in the last 10 or 15, 20 years. But I'm going to let everybody know, when you see your council member leave, your mayor leave, by God, you better leave. Because it's going to happen. I look at this school, I go in down the street and visit that school all the time. Me and my wife, every chance we get, we go back to that school system. Because my son and them started there. I got passion, but I seen what happened. And the same thing that happened is when we get to school and people don't like it, because you're going to have a limit to funds. You know the reason Fulton can get to school? Because look what's growing. We stuck. And y'all can't see that. And we're going to debate about that. I mean, I think it's the same council we talked about getting a police force. Right? Do you think we can afford that? You let me know. Because you know who's going to afford it? Me and my wife. And the next family. And the next family. The gentleman just said you got 200 homes. And then y'all going to go up on our taxes? Because that's all you got. Food World can't do it. Food Giant can't do it. The other little stores can't do it. I'm just saying y'all got to consider what you're doing before you jump out there. Why waste $8,000 when you could put it somewhere else? Why waste that money? Why are we wasting this time here talking about it? When you got everybody got a beautiful school, we just got to fight, and we just got to put the pressure on the superintendent. We got to put the pressure on the people who's handling this. Y'all got to put the pressure on the people. Don't just go into a quick fix. That ain't going to be a quick fix because you will lose the next 20 years. You will see if you get your own school, because you ain't going to probably get it. I'm just being honest, because it's going to take a lot. And some of the people don't have the money. I'm just speaking on passion. I'm speaking on because I'm here. I got respect for Pinson. I ain't going to say I love anything because there ain't number one person I love, and that's God. But I got passion, and that's not right that you're going to tax people. And then where I stay, you're going to see people move, gradually moving. They already did. I said, man, what happened to all the people I moved when I first moved here? For a lot of reasons. So the council, mayor, you need to think about this. Because like I say, if you're going to do this, I already see what's going to happen. If I'm going to move, I'm going to go where I get more for my money. Where I can walk out and go to a store, I can go to the grocery store, I can go to the nice malls. And that's what it's all about. But think before you do. Because when it come up, I'm gonna let you know, y'all look at me real good, I'm gonna vote no. I'm gonna vote no.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else like to speak tonight?
Tracy Thompson, 6408 Sunrise Lane. This gentleman right here, you know, I understand where he's coming from. Nobody wants to be taxed. I know that is an issue that we would have to face if we were to form our own school system. I think the feasibility study is not necessarily just to form our own school system. We need to kind of, and it'll tell us what we can afford and what we can't. It will also, that information can be used for other businesses that are coming in, I would assume. There's so many things that could be used for that, and I understand that $8,000 is a lot. It's a lot for me. But for them to actually pour that into getting the information that we need, that could potentially allow them to contribute more eventually to our schools, because I know our council gives a lot to different programs within our school. I too was at the meeting today with Dr. Gonsolin, and I have communicated with him since he took his seat as superintendent. I had the opportunity to work with Dr. Pouncey before he came. Pam and I came together and we formed PAC back in 2017 when Rudd was having a lot of the issues, and we found out that Jefferson County was only going to give a small amount of money to renovate the schools. We've had children in the schools. We knew what was going on. We communicated with the teachers. And we stood passionately, and we worked very hard, and I think that our efforts were positive, and I think that it helped contribute to some of the monies that we put into Rudd. Is it where we wanted? No. I will be the first to tell you that I am the one who's been posting most of the pictures. They are current pictures, or they are pictures that existed before that renovation. And I'm talking about Rudd Middle School. The pictures have been obtained when I've been in the school. They've been obtained by my child. They've been obtained by other students that have sent it to me. They've been obtained by many, 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 many sources that have been within those two schools. I cannot, it's not just Rudd, and it's not just Pinson Valley High School. It's at Johnson, it's at Pinson Elementary. I have not been in those schools, the two younger schools, the Pinson Elementary and Johnson, as much because my children are older. And I'll address this to the council. I've got 3 children. My oldest graduated in 2015. He started Pinson Valley High School in 2011. This is my 11th year, straight year at Pinson Valley High School. I'm in that school a lot. I volunteer, I do my part. Some of the issues that are still occurring at Pinson Valley High School were the same ones when my oldest was there. 2011, 2012, 2013, 2014, 2015. And I had another child to go through. He started in 2016, and then he graduated in 2019. Guess what? Same exact issues, still there. Same exact issues, still there. He actually shared a video with me here recently that he still has on his phone. Guess what? It's the same leak that is still occurring. Same leak. Same fixtures missing, same ceiling tiles missing, same lights missing, same electrical issues, same roof leaks. Everything's the same. With that being said, corresponding with Jefferson County, well, actually, we'll go back to Councilor Roberts. When you said that there were procedures in place, those were taken. The school was notified. Work orders had been asked if they had been turned in. Because I have a relationship with my administration in the schools. I respect them. I try to help them as much as I can, and I didn't want anybody to get in trouble. So when work orders have been turned in and nothing's been addressed, and my daughter has been sitting in a classroom that is 83 degrees for over a week, and work orders had been turned in since the fall, I'm not going to go through the school. I'm going to go through the board. And when the board doesn't address it, then I'll go to the state. Because it's not just my child, it's every single kid at that high school. Every single one. So, may I ask, when's the last time you've been to Pinson Valley High School? Councilor Roberts?
Well, this is not an opportunity to debate with council, but
Okay.
to state your opinion.
All right. Well, my opinion is if he's been up there, you haven't been all the way through the school. I also know what Rudd, I don't know, I know that you toured Rudd when they opened the doors. Have you been up there in the last 3 weeks? Because it's a lot different than what you saw before the doors opened up. And as far as sewer, I know you have a letter or whatever. Have you talked to any of the staff that actually works at Rudd Middle School? I have to. And it's been more than one time. And furthermore, actually, some of the people that actually worked on the construction site that no longer work for that company have actually reached out and have given a list of issues that that are going on at Rudd Middle School. So I too have done my research. And as sad as I hate to tell y'all, and as passionate as I am, putting all of that stuff on any type of social media was my very last resort, because I wasn't getting any answers. I was being ignored, and I was trying to do what was best for my child and the other children, because they deserve better. They do not need to be sitting in a hot classroom. There is mold. There's mold in the back of the school. I've seen it. I've been in there. And it's unfortunate that Maybe our superintendent hasn't been to the school to see it. It's unfortunate that the health department came out this past Friday to Road Middle School because there was a sewer issue. Well, no, he didn't see anything because it didn't back up that day. It has to back up to be an issue. So it wasn't in the hallways. And for the board to provide information that is actually saying that our kids don't matter and that the staff doesn't matter because I don't think that they have all the information. I don't think that they've asked. I don't think that they've been out there. So we asked them, Pam and I asked them today to please go out to Road Middle School to look at it now. We've asked them to go to the high school. Some of the statements that were made by our superintendent was saying that they were accusations or assumptions. He further told us today that it was because they had to gather some information because the pictures, they couldn't tell if it was actually from Pinson Valley High School. And to me, how can you not know? How can you not know? How can you not know that there's missing tiles in the library and that there's water coming through and that there's no lights? I mean, how do you not know? How do you not know?
All right.
So, again, I know that you want me to wrap this up, but I'm passionate. I love the kids here. I've been involved. I'm with them all the time. And it doesn't matter, the race should not have been brought up because that's not the issue. That is not the issue. The issue is trying to do what's best for the kids that are in our schools and for our teachers, because we're losing really good teachers because they have opportunities to go somewhere else. And this gentleman right here, we've begged for people to step up. We have begged for parents to speak out. These kids aren't going home and telling their parents because they're used to it. We need everybody to come together. I mean, we have begged and begged and begged, and it's going to take all of us. If we work together, you're right. The board needs to be held accountable.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
We appreciate your comments. Anyone else that would like to speak tonight to the council? Feel free.
Good afternoon. Thanks for allowing me to come up this afternoon. My name is Stephanie Floyd. I reside at 4551 Canterbury Lane. Sorry, forgot. I actually am running for the District 3 seat for Jefferson County Board of Education. I've had 3 children within this district, one of which attended Pinson and Rudd, one that attended Shades Valley Engineering Academy, one that's attended Clay Chalkville High School. So I've seen a variety of different aspects from the different schools. We also had one at the IB for middle school. So I've seen a variety of different aspects of the school system from a parent's perspective. So when I listened to the news and heard about the disparity of the issues that are going on at the schools, I actually didn't hear it until this morning. It kind of broke my heart to hear about the possibility of tearing away from the county because of issues. And I think it's really, really important for us to make sure that we speak up. Parents have to speak up. The children need to, and I can't hold the children responsible for any of this, but it would be nice if our children did come home and share what's going on in the school. However, they don't come home and tell us what's going on in school anyway, so I don't know, that's not their responsibility. That's ours as parents. That's ours as the taxpayers. That's ours as the persons that are in charge of them. I am here really just to get some more information to find out really what's going on behind the scenes so that we can figure out a way to address this. I don't believe that it's important to throw out the baby with the bathwater. There has to be a way to rectify this, and I think if we work together as council people, as parents, as concerned parents that are passionate about what's most important, and that is our children, we can find a way to resolve this peacefully. That's all I wanted to say.
I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to speak to public comment tonight? Come to the microphone, Mr. Terry.
Darlin Terry, 5455 Miles Spring Road. I just wanted to say thanks, council, mayor, city council, for paving our parking lot with rock and everything out on the PHCC. We had some deep holes there, and now we're gonna get it taken care of. My main thing tonight was the fact that the mayor, Barry and myself has got a schedule with the Jefferson County Public Works road people tomorrow at 10 o'clock. I know you've had some issues on some people complaining about the water situation out there on North Valley Road. It is a situation. We've had it I've lived here 21 years, and we had problems when I moved here, and we still got problems. But it can be corrected. It has been corrected before. So at the next meeting, the mayor or one of us other two will bring you up to date what we find out tomorrow. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Doran. Anyone else like to speak to public comment this evening? Going once. Going twice. All right, do I have a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, let the record reflect, we are hereby adjourned.